As an NFL GM, if you mess up a big contract, it can set your franchise back years. If you don't believe me, just ask Dave Gettleman.
Say, hey, Dave, what up?
So let's check out and see which are the worst contracts in the NFL this season. You're never going to believe how this list shakes out, so stick around for the full video. But before we get started, hit that subscribe button on your bottom right corner and then hit the bell notification so you can get updated every time we put out a new video. Number 10, Darren Waller. There's no doubt that Darren Waller has been a complete stud the past 2 seasons. Outside of maybe Travis Kelce, Waller is one of the best pass-catching tight ends in recent years. So with 2 years left on his deal, the Raiders decided to give Waller a contract extension before the 2022 season for 3 years, $51 million. The problem is he doesn't really seem to fit in with the new Raiders head coach Josh McDaniels wants to do on offense, and one can argue that he doesn't really fit into the Raiders system because they're downright just awful. Waller has been injured most of the year, but when he's been healthy, he's been less than impressive. The good news for the Raiders is if he continues to not live up to expectations starting in 2024, he is not guaranteed any money. So essentially, it's really only a 2-year, $25 million guaranteed contract with $19.25 million guaranteed. Number 9, Romeo Okwara. Now, after a 10-sack season in 2020, Lions pass rusher Romeo Okwara cashed in on a 3-year, $37 million extension with $25 million guaranteed. It has not worked out well so far for the Lions, as he's only played in 4 games in 2021 with 1 sack, and then he went down with an injury. The Lions hope to get him back in 2022, but who knows if he'll be the same guy as he was in 2020. The Lions can get out of the contract before the 2023 season with a $7 million dead cap hit. That's an average of $13 million a year for 2 years, getting only 1 sack, and still having to take up some cap space in 2023. Number 8, Byron Jones. When Byron Jones came over to the Miami Dolphins after a real good couple of years in Dallas, it looked like a great signing for Miami. But they gave him a 5-year contract worth $82 million and $46 million guaranteed. Well, unfortunately for Miami, they didn't get the same guy that Dallas had, and he has been disappointing. He gets picked on as teams try and avoid Xavier Howard, and he really gets exploited at times. Now, the Dolphins could get out of the contract after the 2022 season. However, they'll have a dead contract hit for $14.8 million. Number 7, Ryan Tannehill. Tannehill is your prototypical mid to low tier quarterback. Now, they've had the number 1 seed in the playoffs twice during his tenure, but Tannehill is just not the guy that will go out and win a game for you. If you're the Titans, you just hope he won't screw it up. And with a 3rd round pick, Malik Willis, in the background, you're going to have to wonder if the Titans are going to want to keep paying Tannehill all that money. Now, the Titans gave him a 4-year, $118 million contract in 2020 with $91 million guaranteed. They can get out of the contract after the 2022 season with an $18.8 million dead cap hit. Number 6, Jared Goff. Now, Goff has had times where he's looked pretty decent in Detroit, but Detroit is not winning, and it's hard to think that a much cheaper quarterback couldn't do the same thing that Goff is doing. In 2019, Goff signed an extension, which was the highest in the NFL history at that time, for 4 years, $134 million, and a whopping $110 million guaranteed. The good news for the Lions is that they can get out of it after the 2022 season with a $10 million dead cap hit, and they're expected to do just that. Number 5, Bud Dupree. Now, it's hard to knock Dupree. The guy had reconstructive knee surgery in 2020 when he was a Steeler. Now, the Titans made a bet that he was going to be the same player as he was in Pittsburgh, and while he's been on the field a decent amount of the time for the Titans, he's just simply not the same player. The Titans signed him to a 5-year, $82 million contract with $35 million guaranteed. Now, the good news for the Titans is they can get out after the 2022 season with a $10 million dead cap hit. Number 4, Carson Wentz. Now, it just seems that nobody likes having Wentz at quarterback for their franchise. He got ran out of Philly. Then after 1 year, he got ran out of Indy, and now it looks like he's on that fast track for the same thing in Washington, as it does not seem like the organization is especially fond of him. In 2019, Carson Wentz signed a deal with the Eagles for 4 years, $128 million, and $107 million guaranteed. Needless to say, he has not been worth the money. And Washington, they can cut him without any dead cap hit. So that is the only thing from saving him from being number 1 on this list. Number 3, Ezekiel Elliott. To be perfectly clear, while declining, Zeke is still productive. He can still carry the rock pretty well and is having a halfway decent 2022. The problem is that he's at a replaceable position and his backup is better than he is. And he's also really expensive. Ezekiel Elliott signed a 6-year, $90 million contract in 2019 with $50 million guaranteed. That's a ton to pay a declining running back, even though he's only 27 years old. Now, Dallas can get out of that before the 2023 season with an $18 million dead cap hit. Number 2, Kenny Galladay. Now, Galladay was given a massive contract by previous Giants GM Dave Gettleman before the 2021 season. And at no point does he look like he earned that contract. He is yet to have a touchdown in a Giants uniform, and he has been in the new regime's doghouse since day 1. He got a 4-year, $72 million contract with $40 million guaranteed. Now, he'll have a $14.8 million dead cap hit in 2023 to get out of the contract, which I fully expect the new Giants GM Joe Schoen to do. Number 1, Jamal Adams. Jamal Adams was a difference maker on a bad New York Jets team. Now, Seattle reached when they traded 2 first-round picks to get him in 2020. Seattle hasn't really used Adams the correct way, and to make things worse, it felt like they were heading to a rebuilding when they traded away Russell Wilson. Although it may not turn out that way, they definitely still overpaid for a safety. Having a great safety can definitely change the defense. However, it's just he's not that guy. You know, he's very bad in coverage, and he's really only good at blitzing. So he's almost like a defensive end at the safety position. Now, if you add to the fact that Adams has now a major leg injury and is pretty much the worst contract in the league. Adams signed a 4-year, $70 million contract with $38 million guaranteed. Now, the Seahawks can get out of it before the 2024 season, but they will have that $14 million cap hit. Now, let me ask you, do you have a player that you think should be on this list? If so, drop a comment, tell me who you think I missed, and also, don't forget, please like this video and please subscribe to our channel.